Welcome back. We're back. Championship week. Great week of games here. Some chaos in the college football playoff selection team. We're just gonna jump right into that. I'll just say how you're doing, KB. I'll have a side tangent here for a second, then I'll let you go. But how you doing today on Sunday, in this lovely month of December already?
Yeah, we're already in December. The Pistons went winless in the month of November, something
Hell
to keep
yeah.
track of. Any sports fans out there? But I'm pissed, and I'm not pissed for Michigan. Michigan is number one. There's been 8 teams, I think, that have been ranked number one overall in the CFP, and Michigan is now officially one of them. So that's cool. Alabama shouldn't be in,
Correct.
and it's a blasphemy to the sport. It's a discredit to the sport.
I mean, Florida
To
State.
have them
Florida
in.
State literally did everything that they were supposed to do, told to do. You win your conference and you go undefeated. Uh, I would have had them at 3 personally, and then I would have had Texas at 4,
Texas at 4.
and then
Yeah.
Bama over Georgia, and then probably OSU. That would have been my top 7. And I probably would have had Washington 1 personally. I don't know if that's me being biased or just Washington beating Oregon twice. In my opinion, is pretty impressive. We'll break the game down, but just a travesty. When I was watching the show, only the one analyst, pretty much Booger,
Booger.
and I'm
Yeah.
I'm usually never a fan of Booger.
Yeah,
He's got some.
he's not great
He's
at
not
breaking
great,
down
and
shit.
he
And I
was the
like,
only
I
one.
was,
He
yes.
only one. I think this Florida State team can compete with any team in the top 7. Their defense is phenomenal, as we saw against Louisville. Obviously, yeah, their quarterback situation sucks, but you're telling me if JJ goes down, Michigan's not in? If you're telling me if Penix goes out, Washington's not in? That's just very dumb point of view. Maybe the AC's down a little bit. I get that, but it's an undefeated team, a conference champion, and you just said fuck you pretty much and put in Bama because we need the SEC because we all know ESPN and the SEC. They want to make money. It's about matchups, and I love the Texas Michigan matchup personally.
Yeah, I
So
wish we would have seen it. That would have been fun.
yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry, but whatever. I lost my train of thought now, but
Oh,
I'm too
sorry.
heated about it. But no, it's
Yeah, dude,
Michigan, Bama, not Texas. I'm an idiot.
okay. Yeah, I love the Michigan Bama matchup. It's going to be a really great game, I think. And honestly, a lot of people might be saying, "Oh, well, you just wanted Florida State because they're injured." I honestly thought it should be 3 Florida State and then 4 Texas. So we were going to
So
get Texas
we're on the same.
regardless.
We're on the
That's
same
that's
page.
what I was anticipating. And the thing that frustrates me most about this all is everyone pointed at strength of schedule, and you saw the graphic that they put up if you're following it. But you look at strength of record. Their strength of record is 3. It's above Bama.
Yeah.
They have a stronger strength of record. If a team played their record and put up the points and gave up the points, they're the third best team at doing that. And the thing that frustrates me most at is Florida State went and beat a very, offensive heavy Florida State team and shut them out in the second half and then ran away with
you
the
mean
game.
Louisville? You said
No, Florida State.
you said Florida State twice, so they beat Louisville.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
did beat. No, I'm talking about early on in the season. Florida
Okay.
State beat LSU. Sorry.
My bad.
Florida
Okay.
State beat
Got it.
LSU early on in the season, held a great offense. I mean, Heisman winner
Should be.
Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
They held him in check for the second half. They made him look more human than any other team.
Yeah.
Then they go and play Florida, right, in a rivalry game. Alabama played a rivalry game 2 weeks ago. Everyone forgot about that football game.
They barely won.
People are like, well, we got to do the eye test. The eye test is Bama fucking won a game against USF 17-3, and then played a 3-point game against Arkansas, played a 6-point game against Texas A&M, which Texas A&M is a fine institution.
Preach.
They play in a lot of close games. And if you aren't scoring them, Miami outplayed Texas A&M.
Yes.
Think about that for a second. Miami, who is a 6-6 ACC team who got their shit kicked in by Florida State, outplayed
A&M.
A&M compared to Bama. But Bama has to be in. Look, it's bullshit. I thought this wasn't true. It's been stated for a while now by a few different people. It's not a playoff. It's an invitational. There's no merit. There's no set statistics. There's no framework
I
to
like
do
that.
this. Because
I like that.
the problem is, right, and this is how you know it's complete and utter bullshit. And that this is all, I'm not saying it's an ESPN conspiracy theory. I think it's just humans being morons. And this is how you know. Because if you think FSU isn't as good of a team as Bama, there's no way in the world with their backup quarterback you think they're a better team than Georgia. But they're ranked ahead of Georgia.
Right.
They shouldn't be, right? Based on your criteria of, well, this is the team they are now. This is what we see. They're not better than Georgia. I would say Ohio State should be ahead of them if that's the criteria we're looking at.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not, and it's not genuine. It's not serious. ESPN staff writers were on the committee, or not on the committee, on the talk show, laughing at Booger McFarland for saying a team that didn't lose a game should be rivaled.
Yeah, Joey.
And
Joey was laughing at him because he said we, because he was a football player. Obviously,
and then
in
he
the
said it
past.
2 minutes after that.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is the 12-team playoff should have happened. This
You could
is
have done
the
a
year.
6-team. You could have done a 6-team playoff and give 1 and 2 the undefeated teams a bye.
You know what this makes me think of, and this is like a pull because Hunger Games is in the media right now. But you remember when like they put all of the the champions in, all the victors in,
Of course, yes.
and they were like, well, surely, if they wrote this in the law, they could write this out of law if they wanted to.
Yeah.
What bylaw would they be to can include all these teams?
I don't know.
I think Ohio State should be in.
Yep.
Because they're one of the top teams. They lost one game on the road by 6 with a game-winning drive.
It's probably all
I think
contract.
Bama should be in.
It's all money,
I think Georgia
TV,
should be in. Florida
money,
State should be in.
Money and TV rights and like bowl rights, which is probably what's hindering. But like you could still make those games just the part of the playoff. Obviously, next year the first round will be home, and then after the first round, 1 through 4 gets byes, and then there'll be bowl games. I couldn't agree more, KB. I am very heated as well. Obviously, you're a little more passionate right now. I think it's absolutely utter dog shit, and obviously there always is going to be an argument. There's going to be arguments next year for a 12 team, but like this year, if you go to 12, that goes to Oklahoma, but then you could throw in an undefeated Liberty team. You could throw in SMU 11-2, and then who do they take out? Do they take out Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Penn State? There's going to be a bunch of arguments no matter what you do. In my opinion, no matter what, win your conference. I don't care what conference you're in. Win your conference. Go undefeated. Play who's in front of you, and then start scheduling real big boy games. Obviously, Bama lost to Texas. Texas is ranked above them, as they should be. Michigan next year and going forward plays Oklahoma and Texas every other year. Especially with 12 teams, those early non-conference games are going to matter. And it's just I hate this. Humans suck. Give me the BCS. In another world, the BCS championship right now is Florida State, Georgia.
No.
In an alternate reality.
The BCS calculated is Michigan, Washington. Those would be the two top teams playing each other. Because they still can run the BCS. They have the script. I do want to say something. Florida State did that. They scheduled a top LSU team in a neutral site in Florida. Like, they did exactly. There's a lot of complaints about college football. There's too many blowouts. Non-conference schedule isn't super serious. Michigan's a fault at that.
Yeah. Well, not anymore. Starting next year.
Yeah, starting next year. But like I'm saying, just the last 2 years, Michigan has been at fault for not scheduling anyone out of conference.
Yes.
They backed out of a UCLA deal. They also backed out of a Louisville deal.
They had Washington too.
Between the last 3 years.
Washington.
They had Washington, and they couldn't play the home and home. But
that's why That's why State played.
Yeah. No, we were supposed to play 2020, so it still would have ended in 2021. But regardless, the problem is, and the thing is that FSU did everything right, and they still got punished.
Yeah, because their quarterback broke his leg in a non-competitive game. Honestly.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is the problem it came down to, because FSU was in, and then Texas and Bama won.
Yeah.
That was the problem, because we can't put Bama in because Texas beat them head-to-head.
Correct.
And so we have to include both of them if we're going to do it. And then he said, who's going to, give us a bigger shit deal? Both the teams Texas, and we'll move on after this unless you have anything else. Texas and Bama are both going to be under the ESPN banner. ESPN controls and owns for right now these games. They own the rights, they own the publication, they own everything. And so there's some matter, and you get on, and they're saying it should be clear. Bama's the best team. Bama should have lost to Auburn.
Should have, yes. Honestly.
They were a lucky play away from losing to Auburn. God, I'm so sick of it. And look, I'm not mad that Michigan got Alabama. I think it's going to be a great matchup. Michigan struggles with
Roll Tide roll.
So I hope they put together a great plan. But this is utter incomplete bullshit that FSU got left out. Like if this was a year and my team, if Michigan went 13-0, which they did, and got left out, I'd be ready to punch people. And I can't imagine what FSU fans are going through. There's nothing else they could have done. The committee told them, like, I get Liberty, right? They had 133rd out of 133 team strength schedule. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, that's a lot different. It's a non-Power 5 school.
FSU won a title. They beat two SEC teams during the year. Two SEC teams that are going bowling, right? Did Florida make a bowl?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They could. I don't know if they're
LSU. I don't know if they're 5-7 or 6-6, but FSU won that LSU game, beat Clemson, and they played down to competition at times, but they beat everyone in front of them. The Louisville defensive performance, and I kind of want to let's just jump into that game, just because we're talking about it and we've spent so much time already bullshitting, but they held a Louisville team that has been offensively incredible.
Yes.
This Louisville team is averaging over 350 yards of offense, and they held them to 188 total yards. Now, their offense wasn't great, but you have to understand, this isn't the quarterback that's going to be going forward. They put together a game plan that they couldn't lose in, that Brock Glenn wouldn't force mistakes. Rodemaker is going to grow. Teams can change, and that's the thing that I feel like we forget about is like the team that ends December isn't the team we see in January. And it was a fantastic defensive performance. Jared Verse had a fantastic day. He, the D-line, Fiske had 3 sacks, Verse had 2. It was a great game, and this Louisville team got shut down, and we just eliminate that. They beat a top 16 team according to the poll, and they dropped. When has that ever happened? Texas beat a top 16 team. They blew them out, granted.
Yeah.
And they rose 4 spots. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And I'm mad and I'm angry because they did them wrong. If you want to talk about the Louisville Florida State game, move on.
1,000% agree, KB. No, you're good. I love the passion here. Usually that's me. So, I 1,000% agree. It's... in my opinion too, like these people are in a room talking all night. In my opinion, easy decision. I got 3 conference champions that are undefeated, and then a Texas team that beat Alabama. Alabama beat Georgia. So Alabama and Georgia can't get in. Ohio State lost to Michigan, so Texas gets in. That's really easy in my opinion. No need to bullshit and talk for 4 or 5 hours. It's a 10-minute conversation. It's really that easy in my honest opinion, and it sucks. And this is why we expanded the playoff. This is why the playoff should have always been expanded. 6, 8, 10, 12 teams. And you can go from there. You can always do more. But obviously with money and TV rights, there's a bunch of bullshit and, people in power. And bowl games are really weird now because, people think they don't. It's just whatever. And then now next year they're going to say conference championships don't matter. It is what it is. The realignment is going to be not so crazy. And I'm looking forward to expanded playoff because a lot of teams this year deserve a chance. What would Missouri do? I think they're a good, tough team. What would Florida State do in this situation if they got absolutely screwed over? Maybe next year they make 12 team. Liberty, maybe they get a shot, etc. Ohio State. That's why we need 12. We could do more, 16, 20, whatever. But it's dumb. I did watch this Louisville Florida State game to jump back into the game. Plummer looked like ass. And that was because Florida State's D-line was in his face. Shout out Brendan Fiske, like you said. He went to Western Michigan, so I'm just going to shout out a directional state in Michigan. He had a hell of a game. He's not my defensive player of the week, but he had 5 solos with 3 sacks. in 4.5 tackles for loss. He was an animal. I don't know why, but his last name wasn't on his jersey, so just something to. I was just kind of confused why he didn't have it. Maybe his jersey ripped or something. But Florida State's it was their backup quarterback. And I know they threw in Telefoli. I think it's Telefoli or something. He's a running back in the Wildcat. He had 10 carries, 118 and a touchdown. Trey Benson had a mediocre game, almost 70 yards. And I thought the problem was with Louisville is they couldn't finish drives. They got in the red zone when I was watching 2, 3, maybe 4 times. Couldn't finish. Plummer I don't know if he threw a really bad pick in the red zone. I can't remember.
He did. It was awful.
It's really bad.
It was an awful interception.
Then there was that weird play where the tight end had a pretty solid catch, and I don't think he had enough control compared to. I saw people people were comparing it to the Michigan Ohio State catch, which I thought the Michigan guy had a little more control in that situation. This guy didn't have enough control, and then the Florida State guy kind of caught it out of bounds. That would have pretty much, I think, Louisville would have won the game if that counted as a catch. But Florida State did what they had to do. I think, is it Norvell's their coach of the year candidate?
Yeah.
Along with some other guys, obviously, Brahms up there too, in my opinion. 13-0. If you watch the rebuild of Florida State, he got a dumpster fire when I think Jimbo left, or if there's anybody else between them.
There's someone in between Jimbo and him. I don't know the name.
Oh, he was from Oregon.
Keep talking. I'll look.
He was from Oregon, but Florida State would do what they had to do. The defense, the front seven was just phenomenal. Corners were everywhere. I don't think Plummer played his best game for Louisville, and the run game was stifled all day. I would have loved to see a Florida State defense in there like this. What was that, Coach? Willie Taggart.
Willie Taggart.
Oh, I just got it. Bang. Willie Taggart.
Ah, there we go.
He was at Oregon.
I didn't send him anything under the.
Nope. That was right here, right in the noggin.
Willie Taggart. He's the Tulane coach that's gonna now.
Oh wow. Is he gonna go somewhere?
He's going to Houston.
Ooh, I thought it was gonna be Cliff Kingsbury.
Which might explain the Willie Tag, like the Tulane, they got killed in the play, like in the.
Oh yeah, I thought Cliff Kingsbury was gonna go there.
No, sounds like they're finalizing the deal.
Tulane to Houston. I would rather be at Tulane, but maybe Houston has more money. So shout out to Florida State's defense. They did everything they had to do to get into the playoff.
Wait. He isn't at Tulane. He's at Florida Atlantic. I apologize.
Okay.
Wrong, Willie. There's a different guy.
Okay, no problem.
He's a Florida Atlantic. I just want to be clear on.
Yeah, you're good. But. No, Louisville did not look great. They stifled the run game big time. And Florida State should be in the playoff, like we both said. The defense, I think, could shut down Michigan's offense. Obviously, I think that'd be a low-scoring game. I think the same thing with Bama. That'd be a low-scoring game. And the Texas game could be fun. I think they match up well. I think Rodemaker could have been, made steps in those practices. So it's a shame that they're going to go because I think their defense showed out in this game. And it is what it is.
Yeah, and just to finalize on that point, there were 3 undefeated teams in the Power 5. Right, we respect the Power 5. Mm-hmm. Well, here, not in the committee room. And then there were 3 conferences went undefeated. Between the other 2 conferences, they played each other. The champions of the conference played, and one beat the other. That should have been it. It should have been a 10-minute discussion.
Yeah,
like you said. But the problem is that there's expectations, and the SEC has won all of these years.
The games don't matter.
And honestly, Georgia is a great team. Like that's the problem is great teams are being left out. I think
so is Ohio State.
A great team. Ohio State's a great team. I think Oregon's a great team.
Absolutely.
They lost 2 games all year, and it was against the same
by
opponent.
3 points both time.
Yeah.
By 6.
And one time they had a chance to kick a field goal. They missed it. Yeah, exactly. And so that's why the 14 playoff sucks. We're going to move on to that. We're going to jump into the first game that we should have covered. I got too antsy with the Florida State shit, but I'm just so, I'm not even a Florida, I fuck Florida State. I hate the Seminoles. I've been in Tallahassee. It's kind of a shit place, but goddamn, they deserve better from you, me, everyone around us to not say that. So, I wanted to bring that up, but we do have a fantastic game that started us off before Oregon and Washington.
Yes.
Dave, let's bring it forward.
Yes, we had Liberty, New Mexico State, offensive shootout. Liberty wins 49-35. We both win. We had Liberty -10, so we're up 1-0. For the Louisville game, we both You picked Florida State, and I picked Louisville, so we're one and you're up two
I'm one up. I'm one up.
you're up by one. But we're gonna jump
Yep.
back to this game. Liberty wins a shootout. This is a fun game. Not a lot of defense was played. Liberty's offense is just on all cylinders. Their quarterback had a hell of a game. Could be the offensive player of the week, but I think we're going to talk about somebody else later. But Caden Salter was 20 for 25, 319, two touchdowns. Then he ran for 12 carries, 165, and a tutty. So he just controlled the game. And then in the red zone or whatnot, Quentin Cooley finished drives. He had three touchdowns along a 20. And the best receiver of the day was C.J. Daniels, 157 and a touchdown for Liberty, the Flames. Their offense was firing on all cylinders. Obviously, New Mexico State was doing well, too. They scored 35. That shutout in the fourth quarter, which was the difference, 14-0 in the fourth. I think Pavia maybe got hurt.
He got injured, yeah.
He had, he was doing
he had
good.
a great start to his day. He was 11 of 16, 168, three touchdowns, and then Berlowitz had to come in for him. So that's one of those things. He also, Pavia had 4 touchdowns on the day too.
Yeah.
And so, it was one of those games. Liberty went undefeated, which is great to them. You can only play the people on your schedule. I think something that we'll see because they went from FCS and they transferred is it's always difficult to get teams scheduled after you move into a conference. So when you're independent, a lot of teams schedule you. But once you move into a conference officially, there's a lot going on, and I think that sometimes teams miss because Liberty, last year I know they played Arkansas. They had a lot of, tough matchups, and this year, it was a nightmare of teams. They barely played anyone, so I expect their, strength of schedule to go up here. But it was just absolutely awesome to see them 13-0. When you win, all of your games, it is a beneficial thing. Like, it's impressive. And they now have Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl, which is right down the road from me, about 20 minutes away. And it's just so impressive whenever you win 13 games. You show up. Who shows up 13 consecutive times in a row? You don't even get that in the NBA. Like, they're the anti-Detroit Pistons. They're showing up 13 times in a row instead of not showing up. And it was an impressive win. It was defensively not tough, but some stops came up and made the difference in the game. So it still came down to it. 49 points is really impressive. I love this conference. I'm looking to see Liberty grow. They're ranked. It's super awesome as Salter comes back.
Yeah.
He's really good. Dave, if you have anything else to mention, feel free.
Yeah, I think Liberty's going to probably is throwing a bunch of money at the football program in general. It's very a religious school. So I can see them kind of throwing money, kind of like SMU. They probably have some rich-ass donors, and they'll throw a bunch of money, and maybe they'll move up to a better conference down the road here. So, fun game, very offensive game. Looking forward to them playing Oregon down the road here. Next game.
Lynchburg, Virginia.
Yep, my grandma's from there. Shout out, Grandma. Next game was the Oregon-Washington game. What a game. I was at my work event, and I was watching a lot of this on my phone, and then I came home and watched the rest of this game, and it was a hell of a game. Bo Nix literally did everything in his power to win. It really sucked when I thought Oregon was going to get a chance there. Penix threw that pick, and then the next play, Bo, I don't know if he was trying to throw it away, but Washington kind of got the pick the next play. But something that is interesting to me is that defense does not have illegal touching. I didn't know that. The guy was straight up out of bounds and then took 3 steps and caught it for a pick. What are your thoughts on that rule, KB? I feel like it could kind of go both ways.
It might be something they review. I think the reason why you don't have defensive touching is because you aren't the one that is supposed to be in possession of it. Because the reason why you make a rule for offensive touching that someone else has to touch it is so someone doesn't run out of bounds on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't cover them, and then they come back into play and they catch a ball. That's the reason for it. I remember going through basketball, and there's an illegal touching rule for offense, and the whole entire purpose of it is because someone ran a play where they ran outside the gym and came back in.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so that's the reason I think that the rule is that way. Could they adopt it that no one can be out of bounds? Because out of bounds means you're dead on the play until you reestablish yourself, until someone else touches it. Maybe. But that's not, I guess, the crucial part of the rule is to not give the offense an advantage, and
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
think the defense doing it gives them any real advantage. So that's
Yeah.
why there isn't a rule for it.
Yeah. That's fair. Just something to think about. It makes sense. As well. Dylan Johnson is just a guy, a dude, whatever you want to call him, a dog. He went I think the USC game was really when they started giving him the ball a lot, and since then he's just been a man amongst boys. 28 carries, 152, 2 touchdowns, just a hell of a game. They really leaned on him when they needed to. Penix had a good game too, 319 and a touchdown and a pick. But Dylan Johnson is kind of the heart of the team right now. And he's the reason why they're firing all cylinders. He's taken that load off of Penix a little bit. He even had a touchdown pass. And then you have their receivers. You got McMillan, Dunze, both over 100. Polk had 5 catches, 57. And they love giving the ball to Bernard on jet sweeps. I guess he might be their fastest receiver. Rest in peace to his Michigan State career. Could have used him and Keon this year. But, nonetheless, dumpster fire is over for us. We're rebuilding. This is a great game. I felt really bad for Bo, like I said. We both took the Huskies with the points, but we both thought Oregon was going to win. So I'll just give us that since we took the Dogs to cover. And they won. And they showed everybody that you shouldn't there's no way Vegas should have put 10 points as them on the underdogs, and they're an undefeated team, and they already beat Oregon, and then they show us that hey, we are one of the best teams in the country.
Well, no, but
doubt.
Bama would be favored against FSU, so Bama should be into the college football playoff. Everything's just a computer analytics game now. Who would you rather play? Well, Oregon should have won this game, so the fact that they lost doesn't actually matter.
That's why we play. That's why you play the game.
Yeah, it's why you play. I was pounding on the table. I don't know if you guys heard that. Dylan Johnson, this guy's a 3-year player at Mississippi State. He transfers away, and a 3-year player where he played all of COVID. So this is technically a senior that has junior status if he wants to return, which I would expect. He had a 1,100-yard season. His last 5 games, he had 256 for Southern Cal. He had 104 versus Utah, 89, 82, and 152. He scored 8 touchdowns in that span over the last 5 games. He has been their catalyst. He's been the guy they go to. And we talked about it, Dave. We were like, them finding a physicality on offense. I think that the game that you can kind of look at, Washington got up early. They out-physicaled Oregon in this game, which is not something that you would expect. You think of DeBoer, you think of kind of the offensive style they run, and you think that they're going to get out-physicaled in some games, right? It's an air raid system. They out-physicaled Oregon.
Their O-line
or at least met them.
Along with Dylan Johnson, their O-line has gotten a lot better, too. In
the
run game.
Grown.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they didn't, maybe, like I said, didn't technically out-physical them, but they matched the physicality of that Oregon team offensively and defensively, and that's why you can't take blowouts necessarily. For example, Oregon and Bo Nix didn't have to play through any adversity through the last half of the season.
True.
Everything was in control. Bo Nix was in control. It was on time. It was in rhythm. And Washington did things that forced Bo Nix to be beyond the scheme, work beyond it, do more. And he isn't that guy. He still played great, 21 of 34 for 239 and 3 touchdowns, but the precision that maybe you've seen against lesser competition, you didn't see in this game. And that's because I think Washington has some great cornerbacks that can challenge teams, and they're physical enough up front to stop the run. Bucky Irving had 9 carries for 20 yards. James had 5 carries for 35. They really got away from the run game early because of the scoring, right? I'm not going to say, they should have stuck to it. They were getting blown out as 21-6 or 21-3 or whatever. And so it was a really impressive performance by Washington. That's why we can't let shit outside of us focus us, because Washington was dead in the water according to all the analytics, according to all the people that I tested the game, and that's another reason why Florida State not getting in is bullshit. I'm going to keep coming back to this. I'm just so pissed off. But impressive performance by Washington.
They earned it.
I'm sad that
Rest
Georgia
in
didn't
peace.
win, so Michigan could play Washington in the Rose Bowl. I thought that would have been really special just for the last year, the Pac-12 versus the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl would have been really special just from like a college football fandom. But Michigan's still going to the Rose Bowl, so sadly, fuck Washington and Seattle.
Yeah, rest in peace to the Pac-12 officially. There was a picture online with they had all the mascots in the stadium, which was really cool. But it sucks. I think the Pac-12 is a great conference, especially this year. A lot of good history. I mean, obviously we played them, the Big Ten, Pac-12, and the Rose Bowl forever. So for state fans, we got some memories there too. We played Stanford, 2013 I think Rose Bowl, the 100th Rose Bowl we won, and obviously in the past there's a lot of great games. Obviously, there's the ban on the field, Stanford, etc. So sucks to see. Money talks, obviously, and bullshit walks. Maybe somewhere down the road, who knows? The Pac-12 makes a comeback, but officially, the Pac-12 is dead as we talk and live our lives today. Any other thoughts, KB, on this rematch of a game?
No, it was a great game. I still think Oregon's a great team.
They are.
I just want to say that. I just think Washington can match them and can provide some difficulties that maybe some other teams wouldn't match up as well.
Yeah.
Oregon's a good team. I mean, honestly, but it's just Washington's better.
Yeah, we'll jump to the next game, the Big 12 championship, and pretty much a blowout in the. I mean, I stopped watching after the first half. Quinn Ewers had a game, and he was pretty much the reason why they won. He had I don't have that up.
452 and 4 TDs. I got it up on me. He did throw a pick. Sark had a game.
Yeah.
I feel like I predicted Texas to cover, and I know they were like
Correct.
13-point faves.
Correct. 15 and a half.
Yeah.
You're up by 2.
Texas played a great game. Texas is a good team. Texas managed them. And I talked about it. And Dave, you and I talked. I said Ollie Gordon isn't going to have a big game.
He didn't. He was pissed too. He was pissed.
Mm-hmm. He had 13 carries for 34 yards.
A long
Alan Bowman has
to
carry them.
He had a long of 9 too.
That's so incredibly impressive. The front seven of Texas. I think something that Sark has definitely changed. The appearance around is that front seven, the defensive front seven. I feel like we thought for a while after Mac Brown is the front was soft offensively and defensively.
Yes.
And they shut down the run. Bowman was 22 of 38 for 250 and 3 TDs, but it's not enough. And I said that. And he's not the game changer.
Yeah.
If you can slow down Gordon, if you can make it difficult for him, and you can force this game on Bowman, he's not a good enough quarterback. He's a fine quarterback, but he's a fine manager. And when OK State found success, it was off the back of Gordon. This offensive team, they killed it. They didn't rush the ball necessarily great. C.J. Baxter, 13 for 33. Jay Blue, 10 of 33. They got Robinson for 4 of 75. But that's something to look out for heading into the playoff. What does their rush game look like when their best back is out? But impressive performance by Texas. Ewers is the best version of himself right now, and this offense is moving as the best version of himself. And he couldn't have hoped for anything else when he transferred from Ohio State to Texas, other than what he's doing right now. Reports are he might come back too instead of going in the draft. Dave, if you have anything else to add to this game, let's continue to talk about it.
Yeah, I think their scheme was really good. I thought what you said about Sark having a game is 1,000% correct. I was kind of half paying attention when they did the reverse back to Ewers touchdown to the tight end, and I was like, how the fuck's he so open? And I was like, oh, they did it's been very popular this year. I think NFL team ran it, and a couple of other teams.
Michigan ran it too.
Do you know? I can't remember the first team who ran it was. I remember watching it though.
Michigan ran it, and then the Lions ran it, and then someone else ran it. I don't think Michigan was the first to run it, but that's the first that popped up on my radar. The reversed,
double reverse back to the quarterback.
Double reverse back to the QB, tight end release up the field because he was blocking.
Out. Yep, it's It's a great call. And Texas was trying to run. They had 40 carries as a team, and just under 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ewers threw the ball a lot, 46. So my mind is thinking they are gonna have a tough matchup going against Washington. It'll be a fun game. Could be an offensive game. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm just thinking right now, can they which team? Pretty much what it comes down to most games, and a lot of coaches say this, especially in Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, who runs the ball better wins, and I can see that happening. I mean, obviously that's kind of just a true statement in general. So I was just thinking about that for that matchup. But yeah, Ewers had a hell of a game. Looking forward to what these teams do going forward. They have probably a week or two really easy, and then a lot of coaches 2 or 3 weeks out. They dig deep here and they scheme up. So looking forward to those games. KB, you're up by 2 games, and we're gonna jump into the MAC game as well now.
Dang it. Dang it. My boys let me down. I think you took Miami of Ohio, if I remember correctly.
I did.
It was a good game. It was a close game. Honestly, closer than the score indicated. There's a late turnover that led to a score.
Yep.
Turnover on downs. This Miami of Ohio defense is legit. We talked about that going into the game. We talked about kind of what they could do, what they could make happen, and they only had 1 sack in this game for Miami. But they made it difficult for DeQuan Finn the entire game. I mean, they threw for 109 yards, and they won by double digits.
Yeah. Their defense was flying all over the place. They shut down the run. Penny Boone only had 11 carries for 41 yards. Finn was running all over the place. He only had 33 yards. He had a touchdown. The difference was, obviously, their defense was phenomenal. Shout out their punt returner, Cade. I think it's McDonald. He's a former Michigan State guy. But the difference was, towards the end, was Rashad Amos for Miami. He was getting some tough yards towards the end there, and then the quarterback broke off a long one to get in the red zone and score. This is a great game for a MAC game. They shut down a high-powered Toledo offense, and they avenged the only loss they had this season, and they're 11-2, and they won the MAC. Obviously, the MAC, talent-wise, isn't always the best. A lot of low-tier Big Ten guys go to the MAC, but I think there's still some high-quality talent. Some of these guys will be playing in the league, so I love watching these games. It's in Detroit. Candle has a great team at Toledo year in and year out. And Miami's kind of always up there, and their defense was just next level, going back and forth. So for me, watching Amos, run the ball was huge. I think for him, he had some tough yards, as I said, and then Smith was okay. I think he's their backup quarterback. I think Gabbert got hurt, and he did everything he could to get this team to win. And looking forward to seeing him come back next year. I think he has another year of eligibility. And looking forward to the MAC no longer having divisions as well. So I think they're going to have pods. So next year the MAC will be pretty interesting to look at too, because they're going away from divisions and going to pods. And obviously watching the MAC action's always fun. So just a great game. And once again, the defense for Miami was phenomenal. And I did pick them. It was +8 KB, so give me that one. I'm one closer to you are. Any more thoughts on the MAC game?
No, and like you said, the MAC is a great conference, and maybe it doesn't have the highlight, and I don't think they quite have the athletes of the Sun Belt, but they have better coaching than the Sun Belt. It's almost weird. Like if you put some of these coaches from the MAC down south with those athletes that get looked over by big programs, I think they could do some damage. Candle and who's the Miami?
I'm not sure Miami.
Oh,
Chuck Martin, former GV coach.
Chuck Martin. Yeah. The Martin guy won national championships at GV. Absolutely. I was talking with Promo guy about that this weekend because he was in town. Anchor up. They lost this weekend 7-6.
Quarterback got hurt. Bummer.
But overall, there's some great coaches in this conference. I hope they get looks at Power 5 conferences. I know OCs from other schools are popular, but these guys know how to coach. They know how to build and develop, and they really know how to do that in this conference. Absolutely ecstatic. I lost this game, but I watched it, and it was a fun game. Penny Boone didn't really quite get off to it, but this defense is so fantastic for Miami, Ohio. They're very aggressive. They come out with different looks, and it was a fun game. So outside of that, I'm ready to move on, Dave, to our next game, which is what we're looking at.
Mountain West Championship. Boise runs away 44-20. The first half of this game was nutso. Lot of points. At the end of the first half, it was 31-17 at half. There's a pick six in there. And, Boise's probably found their coach with their interim guy. They fired him, their last coach, and they won 3 games in a row and won the conference championship. Taylor Green had a good game for Boise, 12 for 15, 226, 2 touchdowns. He ran well, too, 8 carries, 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, I got to shout out Genty. He was my player of the week last week. They leaned on him and George Halani. They both had 20-plus carries. Genty had 153 and a touchdown. Halani had 76, no tutties. They shut down the go-go. They didn't score any points. They scored a field goal in the second half. I think Maeva got hurt.
One touch, 2 touchdowns for the day. That's really effective.
Maeva got hurt, and Ricky White had 6 catches for 86 yards. That was pretty much it. And Boise did what Boise does from what we know in the past. They're a really good team. I don't think their record shows how good they usually are. We're used to them winning 9, 10, 11 games a year. And this new guy, I think he's a Boise guy through and through. I think I saw he was a grad assistant, and then he was something else, and he worked his way up at Boise. So he's a Boise guy. He probably bleeds blue and orange. So looking forward to what they do next year with the Mountain West in the Pac-2. But they're rolling, and I'm looking forward to whatever bowl game they're in to see how well they keep getting. I'm not sure if Green's coming back as their quarterback. I think he's relatively younger, so that they could have a really good team next year with those running backs and him at quarterback.
Yeah, it was a really impressive performance. I took UNLV. What did you take Boise, or did we both take UNLV?
We both took the go-go.
Yeah, we both took the go-go. Fun fact, it sounds like UNLV's offensive coordinator, the originator of the go-go offense, is interviewing at UTEP. So he might be moving down south a little bit. Overall, and Dave, I did want to say UNLV plays home games at
Allegiant.
Allegiant.
Oh.
So it's technically a home game for them. I don't know if they're technically hosting, but it is a home game for them. Unofficially, officially, because they have to play on the turf of the field. So
not the grass, right? The Raiders play on the grass.
Yeah, the grass is reserved solely for NFL.
Okay.
So they have grass and they have a turf field for both college games there, right? We had the Oregon and Washington game that was on turf, and this game is on turf. They refuse to let them play on the grass. I'd assume because the grass field isn't the best. Based on the fact that it's grown in the middle of the desert, and it's not an actual field. But overall, Boise played a great game. It was a little shocking. UNLV controlled the first matchup from the get-go. They were able to manage everything, and this game got away from them a little bit. And because the go-go offense is an extension of the triple option, there's some limitations that you have in it in coming back in games and being able to score quickly. And they really rely on the run game, and it's more diversified. So you're going to look at the run game, you're going to see 4 players. You're going to be like, oh, they don't really run the ball. They do. And Boise State did a great job of managing that and taking care of them. Boise State finished the season remarkably well, 4 consecutive wins. Their last loss was to Fresno State, who was competing for the Mountain West for a while there. But fantastic performance. UNLV's defense really suffered here, and we kind of saw the exposure when their offense isn't rolling. But outside of that, Dave, I don't have anything else to say on this game. What's our next game we're looking at?
SEC Championship. So
SEC,
Georgia Bama. This is the game that pretty much made everything happen. That went kind of nutso for the committee. Bama wins 27-24. This was a defensive game. When I was watching highlights back, I wasn't able to watch this. I went to the Grand Rapids Gold game. They got their first win. And I watched the highlights back. It was a very defensive game until the fourth quarter. I thought Bama looked great on defense. Like I said before, multiple times this year, I hate rooting for Bama. I'm not really rooting for them. But they've gotten so much better since that Texas loss. I can see why the committee made the decision. I don't agree with it. Obviously, they're thinking money and matchups too, but this team's gotten a lot better, so kudos to Saban. He's done a great job. Milroe didn't even have his best game, 13 for 23, 192, 2 touchdowns. They ran okay, but they really shut down Georgia when they needed to. Beck only had 243. They didn't run the ball well. Georgia ran the ball 31 times for 78 yards. They did have 3 touchdowns, but not a lot of yardage. This was a slobber knocker game. Neither team could run that well. And at the end of the day, Bama did what they had to do to get the win. Georgia almost kind of was getting there towards the end, but it wasn't enough. It was a little too late. And I'm going to say it one more time. I'm just really impressed by this Bama team, how much they've gotten better, how their defense is just flying around and doing a great job. And like I said, Milroe had a less than amazing game. And if he has an amazing game, Bama probably scores 34 points here. If he throws for a little bit more, he didn't run that great, 14 for 29. So looking forward to this matchup against Michigan. I think it will test them for sure with a mobile quarterback, and Saban's a genius, and they're having a pretty good year. So Bama winning this game has caused all the chaos for Florida State not to make it in, which kind of sucks. But this was a great game, and the SEC championship doesn't ever let us down. And I think CBS and SEC is done, which sucks. I think
Last game ever, yeah.
I think CBS did a great job with SEC games. I thought I sent you a TikTok about how the commentators on CBS are really good at letting the crowd be there. And Vern Lundquist, he's been there forever. Brad Nessler, they would just gotta be quiet, and I know for the kick six, they didn't talk for like 2 minutes. So gonna miss that. I just want to bring that up one time because I thought the CBS and SEC did a good job together.
Yeah, I mean, you said it pretty spectacularly. Georgia came out and scored on their opening possession. First drive, scripted drive, and they were locked in. There was passes. Alabama had a technically controversial call. There was a overturned pass maybe at the second quarter that made it a 17-7 game instead of a 10-7 game. But what I saw is a Georgia team that never got pushed in the ways that teams could technically push them. And when it came down the stretch, Alabama won the game. They closed it out. I think they were up 27-17, and then Georgia scored a late touchdown to make it close. Overall, Beck didn't play his best. I mean, Beck was 21 of 29. I think they honestly should have laid into him overall a little bit more, but there wasn't a lot of plays in this game, and that's something that you sometimes deal with when you have these very slow and methodical offenses. There was only 31 runs and 29 passes. So, I mean, you're running 60 plays. That's not a lot of plays. That's a slow game for Georgia. Bama
60.
got up to a lot more. Bama had 30 runs there were 39 runs in this game, and then you add 23 passes. Milroe played a good game. He escaped the pocket when he needed to. It's going to be a great matchup. I'm excited for this game. Just overall, 13 of 29, 13 of 23. He isn't a great passer, and that's something that you kind of have to keep in the back of your mind. He didn't win this game by passing. He did have touchdown passes, and they're easier completions. But he's an athlete back there, more so than a full, competent pocket passer. And that's dangerous in college football because he's a better athlete than most Georgia most Georgia players, and those are the best players in the country. He can out-athlete anyone.
Yeah.
So this was a fantastic game. I'm sad Alabama made it in. I was hoping and praying that the SEC got left out, but you know that ESPN and SEC and Down South money hit different, and they've won the last, outside of Clemson, they've won 14 straight since Ohio State won it. It's been them.
Wow, really? I didn't even think about that.
It's been ACC or SEC for like the last since Ohio State won it in 14.
Wow, I can't believe that's crazy. I got not much here to say. I think this game was really important, and Kirby probably thinks they should be in the playoff, which they probably should. That's why we need more teams in the playoff, as we have said multiple times. But it is what it is for one more year. We both picked Georgia here, KB, so we didn't get any. I think you're still up by 2 games this week so far.
No, one.
Only one so far. But looking forward to Bama, Michigan. Roll Tide roll for me there. But we'll jump to the next game. That's going to be the SMU Tulane game. So that's the American Athletic Championship, the AAC. SMU 26, Tulane 14. And I'm going to shout out first my Defensive Player of the Week, Isaiah Nwakabia. I think that's right. 8 total tackles, 7 solo, 1 tackle for loss. He also had a pick. Kind of all over the place. Numbers aren't too crazy, but he sealed the game with that pick. And Tulane got shut down at home here. Conference championship game at home, and Pratt was looking pretty good. Also, SMU's quarterback was a backup, which neither of us had talked about, KB.
Yeah.
But you want to continue with that? I thought he threw a pretty good ball, all things considered. He didn't have an amazing game. 19 for 33, 203, a tutty, and 2 picks. They ran decently well, 45 carries as a team, 193 and a touchdown. Tulane couldn't run for anything, 26 carries for 31. Obviously, Pratt got sacked a lot here. Looks like SMU had 7 total sacks, which is huge. And their defense was everywhere, and they scored 9 points. I think all field goals in the fourth quarter. So they did what they had to do here, an away game, and they beat Tulane to win the Athletic. And next year they'll be in the ACC. So a bunch of A's and C's being thrown around right now. I'm kind of confused, but they'll be in the ACC next year, and they're probably going to try to get back to the Pony Express days back in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, this was a very impressive performance. I thought SMU would have been named into the New Year's Six Bowl because they lost 2 games to TCU and Oklahoma.
Correct.
They're competitive in the TCU game. They got blown out by 30 in the Oklahoma game, but Liberty got granted that, and they're playing Oregon. I think it would have been much more fun to see SMU on a short jag over, 15 hours short jag in the West here from their area over to Phoenix. But this was a very impressive performance. I didn't even know Stone was out, and they
Me
played
neither.
with their backup quarterback technically, and he ran the ball pretty well, 15 carries for 63 yards. But what the story of the day was is this SMU defense limited the hell out of Tulane. They rushed the passer super effectively. Like you said, 7 sacks. Pratt technically had 10 for negative 35 yards in the pass game. They were super good at rushing, or in the rushing game. They were super effective at rushing the passer, and he really couldn't get into a rhythm at all. Just really impressive. I thought Tulane was going to run away with this game. This is a team that competed with Ole Miss, right? We have to think about things. They played a home game at Tulane, and they had their backup. And SMU played a better game than Ole Miss did in the same exact environment. And that's just a weird way to look at it. And football games are one-offs, and they can be super weird. But SMU played a much more physical game. They limited the rushing game much more better than Ole Miss did. So that's just always something to kind of think about and look at as we look at these games. And then, Dave, to quick rewind, the Georgia versus Bama game, it was a playoff game.
Yeah.
And it sucks that a
Pseudo.
conference championship was a playoff game.
I mean, the Michigan Ohio State
but it
game was
was.
a playoff game too.
Yep, Michigan Ohio State was a playoff game. Oregon versus Washington was a playoff game.
Yep.
The Texas game, they had to win it, but it wasn't a playoff game. They're playing a 16, team, and then same with Florida State. But those are the playoff games that we're having to deal with right now before we get into the expanded playoff. So I did want to bring that up. But SMU Pony Express. You have to root for that program. If you've ever watched the 30 for 30 on what happened to them, obviously doing super illegal things, obviously breaking the rules, got punished super hard, but they got punished so hard that
They
punishment has never been levied again.
Death penalty. Yeah.
Yeah, that penalty has never been levied again, ever. And there's a reason for that. It's because it kills your program.
Yeah. You did pick SMU here, KB, so you're up by 2 games again. I picked the Green Wave, and they didn't have it today or yesterday, which sucks, but hey, the Pony Express got it done, so you're up by 2. Next game will be the Troy Appalachian State game for the Sun Belt. Go ahead, KB.
Man, this was a terrific game. I mean, I think I took App State. I think I said they've been there before. They had some familiarity with big games, and
Yes, you did.
Troy
You did. Yes, you
necessarily
did.
hasn't, even though they're a double-digit win team pretty consistently. But I'm going to shout out my offensive player of the week, Vidal, Kamani Vidal.
Yes.
Had 26 carries for 233 and 5 touchdowns. Impressive performance. This is a fantastic result. Troy has played some big games. You guys remember when they beat that LSU team? It's just been wild for this Troy team overall. They relied on the run in this game. They punched it down App State's throat. And App State isn't a horrible team, but they didn't all put it together, and their defense let up some pretty gouging plays. 28 fourth quarter points, which means that they were run down, they were dejected, they were tired.
Yep.
When it came down to it, and they were able to shove it down their throats. Dave?
Yeah, I would have loved to seen Troy play JMU here. I think that would have been a great game. Obviously, App State beat James Madison, and obviously they're not going to the conference championship because of the dumb rules by the NCAA per usual. But they are going bowling, which is cool. So I would have loved to see that matchup. But Troy just controlled this game. They gave it to Vidal, 26 carries, like you said, 233, 5 tutties. I mean, can you have a better game as a running back? I mean, unless you go like a Randy Moss game where you score every time you touch the ball. But this is a fun game. Watch highlights back and a lot of running highlights. In the fourth quarter, like you said, was the game 28-6 to run away with the game. The Troy Trojans are kind of always relevant in my opinion. They win 8, 9, 10 games every year. They have upsets like you said every now and again. So interested to see where they end up down the road with all the realignment. Maybe they throw some more money at their athletics, but right now they're in the Sun Belt and the Sun Belt champs, 11-2. So looking forward to whoever they play in their bowl game to see if Vidal has a good game. I know Gunnar Watson, the quarterback, is pretty decent. He's been there. He's not a transfer or anything. He's 16 for 24, 192 and a touchdown. So he did what he had to do. Pretty much a game manager, and then they just handed the ball off. And their defense did enough to win the game at the end. So a fun game. Looking forward to James Madison playing in this game probably in the next few years since they're really good. I know their coach left and went to Indiana. He's already said some crazy things. He thinks he's going to win the Big Ten with, I mean, obviously he's going to, say whatever you want for Kool-Aid, but they're not going to win the Big Ten with all these teams coming in and all the big boys at the top.
Yeah, so the fun thing is, so Neil Brown, who's the West Virginia coach, just to give you some background on Troy, he won 4 games in his first year, then 10, 11, 10. Then he left to West Virginia. Chip Lindsley replaced him. He won 5, 5, 5. And then John Sumrall, he's won 12 games and 11 games back-to-back seasons. So expect him to be some P5 conversations. Maybe not this year, but definitely next year going forward. Sometimes it's interesting with Power 5 coaches. They'll wait on a better, like a big glow up instead of just a glow up where like, hey, should I take a Syracuse job?
Yeah.
Or like a Wake Forest job where maybe I won't have all the resources versus like I'm waiting to hit the home run where people ask me to coach at, not maybe not Michigan, but an MSU job where you have the resources or an A&M job. So he's had back-to-back 10-win seasons coming off of 5-6 season in 2021. So I just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, I like that. When I think of Troy, I probably think when I'm in high school and college when you said all those other Neil Brown records. So Troy is kind of always there. Obviously, they had a couple down years, but now they're back up. So looking forward to what they do in the bowl game. And we're on to the last game of the week, which is kind of a boring one, a snooze fest. It was your lovely Wolverines.
For who?
What?
Said boring for who?
I mean, Iowa's defense is really
good. What are we
good.
picking the Troy game?
Yes, I thought I said it, but I'll double check.
Yeah.
You picked App State and I picked Troy. So
okay,
you're
so
up.
I'm 1 up. Again.
You're 1 up, and we both picked Michigan to cover, which they did. So you won overall.
Yeah.
I would say.
But overall, I think I'm breaking this down as a Michigan fan. I think there's some concerns from the offense. It looked a little stale, even though this is a great Iowa defense. I mean, Michigan, when they went up 10, we were looking at betting lines to see if we could bet to take Michigan to just earn free money because we knew Iowa was going to overcome a 10-point lead. Michigan honestly only scored short TDs. There were some issues, a lot of tight end drops.
Yes.
In the run game and in the blocking game, it wasn't clean. I've watched a bunch of replays. There were tight ends. There were the fullback, Max Bredesen, and we just didn't do a good job overall being focused. Iowa's a very fundamental team. They're not going to be out of gaps a lot, and you have to push them out of gaps. And Michigan didn't do a good job of that. JJ was 22 of 30 for 147. I don't think he was that bad. He didn't miss a lot. I think he missed one throw, Colson Loveland in the first quarter. Outside of that, he really didn't miss a lot. He did have a few sacks of him extending plays, and I really wish he would have just thrown it away. But overall, I think that the scheme wasn't very great, and I think that the team just wasn't as focused as maybe I'd hoped. But Mike Sainristil still 2 forced fumbles. He's great. He's going down as a Michigan legend. That's someone I'm going to be talking about 30 years from now. He was a wide receiver, and I think he was a good wide receiver.
He was.
And he got in and out of breaks well, and
he was good.
He sacrificed himself to become a Michigan legend defensively. And in 2 years, he might be a top half of the draft. He like a third round in quarterback in the slot. He's fantastic. He does a lot in the run game, and I'm just so happy um, of what he's done. Overall, Iowa fucking sucked. They're not a real team. They don't
Yeah.
have a real offense. It
No.
might be the worst offense in the country. Defensively, they're great, and I wish they had a real offense, and hopefully they can figure that out this year, especially when they don't play Michigan. But that was gross. Fuck Cade McNamara. I hate everything he stands for. Eric All was great. Still love him, but that's kind of my opinions of the game.
Yeah, and Spencer Petras, the backup quarterback, he's going to Utah State, so obviously nothing special there. Just a little news. Also, everybody, officially, I'm going to drop this one. Officially tomorrow, the portal opens, so keep an eye out. I've seen a bunch of stuff where players might end up. Obviously, some guys are staying, some are leaving. I saw a mock-up, and I saw Hauser going to it made me laugh. Hauser going to Oklahoma, and I saw Levitt going to Arizona State, which I highly doubt happens. I think Levitt's the better of the two. So watch for chaos. Keep eyes on your team. Keep eyes on guys.
Levitt at Arizona State.
It was a mock-up on TikTok. It was probably just bullshit. But
I was gonna say, I was like, they have a 5-star guy.
then they had
just
Noah Kim to Wake Forest, which makes sense. So to me, some of them did make sense and some did. Just keep an eye out. It opens officially tomorrow. I know some guys are probably already know what they're going and they talk to people already, but there's something to think about with the portal and everything going on. The only game next week is Army Navy, which we will talk about. But yeah, I watched a lot of the game. I actually watched more of the ACC game because I knew this game was over at halftime. But I must say, Iowa's defense is so damn good, and the rumor is that Jonathan Smith is trying to get the D coordinator from Iowa. And man, oh man,
Earl Parker.
I'd take him. I'd take him in a heartbeat. With a competent offense, this defense could win championships.
So the interesting thing with Phil Parker, right, is he is a 3 to 4 year guy developmentally with defenses.
Okay.
So if you're looking to someone to immediately make an impact, he maybe isn't the D coordinator because his scheme relies on everyone to know the defense inside and out.
Okay.
Like you need to know your gap control, you need to know your zone for, your because they primarily like they're a drop team. They want their D linemen to destroy blocks so they don't have to add in the run box. It's kind of like Michigan, but the one thing they do is they play a lot of zone, a lot of soft zone, and they're a tip merchant in like a good way. They cause tips and then are very good at intercepting them.
Yes.
But that's not a like impact now defense. There might be some problems transitioning to that defense, so it will be interesting kind of expectations wise. He might be the best D coordinator in the country he's dealing with 3-star recruits, 4-star recruits, but he's absolutely fantastic. But not to gloss over Michigan, I mean, anytime you go into a neutral site and you dominate a team like that, you have to be happy. I still think there's issues with the offense.
Yeah.
I haven't been happy about the play calling. I haven't been happy overall with the game planning. I think Roman Wilson has kind of become an afterthought, even though he wins all of his routes. And pass protection is an issue. Their left tackle, who I know is recovering from an injury, got dog walked 4 or 5 times in just a straight bull rush. And Bama has much better pass rushers than Iowa. I'm just looking forward to that. But overall, I'm not going to be mad. It's a Michigan win. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I'd be praying for 3 consecutive back-to-back Big Ten championships. Big Ten West is dead. They don't win in a single Big Ten championship game. Fuck them. They shouldn't have ever existed. But overall, I'm so happy with where Michigan's at. I can't be unhappy. I love Jim Harbaugh. I love Michigan. I love the program.
Weird.
I'm happy.
He's a fucking weirdo.
About everything that's happened.
He's a weirdo.
And I'm excited for the playoff. I'm excited for the championship. I might go, depending on how it works out. It's in Pasadena, obviously. We have some close family members or close family.
It's a quick flight too for you
that live there. That's a quick $30-$40 flight. It's really just about I might have jury duty that week, so it kind of has to play out.
Do the stuff online.
I might go to that game.
Yeah, do this stuff online. It's a holiday, so figure it out. I would go. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yeah, but congratulations to you, KB. Fuck every other Michigan fan and their coaches. Congrats to the players for sticking together here. All respect to them for the situation. I think that's really what we got to think about as much as I hate Michigan. You got to respect the players. I don't think they've looked Obviously, they dominated Ohio State, did a good job. Their offense has been mediocre, but they do what they need to do and they get a win. This is another Michigan type win, as I would say. They get the great punt return by a local Michigan kid out of West Bloomfield.
Damage.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then kudos to the Iowa guy too for missing the tackle and then hustling all the way back like 90 yards. Like, dude's got some fucking cojones on him, and that's all heart right there. Obviously, Michigan scored another play or two, but kudos to the guy on Iowa for getting up and making a play. That's phenomenal. Looking forward to the Michigan-Bama game. Roll Tide roll, as I already said. I think that's gonna be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. KB, you should go. One more thought is the CFP sucks. Big dick. Florida State should be in. It sucks to see. But we'll be breaking down a bunch of bowl games going on. We're going to talk about the Army-Navy game. We're doing Bowl Mania, like I kind of said last time. We're going to have $100 on the line, so whoever has the better picks will get $100 from the other person. And, yeah, looking forward to the portal opening and see who State gets here to be a QB1. Could be Childs, could be Dante Moore. And I'm going to say my last thing is go green.
I just want to ask you one more thing, and then you need to follow up with the Go Green, obviously. But we're gonna do that live picks right now. We're gonna explain why we believe that, or should we do like half and half? Because that's a lot of bowl games. Or are we just gonna come out with it?
We don't have to have huge quick takes, so maybe we could try to limit ourselves to a couple minutes per game and make a pick quick. We'll figure it out. We'll put our heads together. Obviously, there is a lot of bowl games, and we can always have the Bowl Mania thing up on ESPN and just do the straight pick 'em. We'll figure it out. Maybe we do half and half for each episode, or we go straight through, and then we break down the games as they get played. And go green.
Yep. Yeah. The college football playoff committee. I hope they don't sleep well tonight. I hope they have a rough night of sleep. I don't wish ill will to their family, but I hope they're kind of like insomniac for the next 2.5 weeks, and they like start questioning if they're seeing a Slenderman maybe in their window. They don't deserve much. I don't like them. I hope they kind of rot. Overall, I'm so happy with Michigan's season. They came out and handled business against Iowa. Maybe not as sharp as you'd hope as a Michigan fan, but they could have won that game. They won that game after scoring 10 points, too. So that also takes an effect. Just overall, I'm so happy. I'm happy I can do this podcast. Happy we can provide this for you guys. Continue to please listen. And then the last thing I have to say, go blue.
Thanks, KB. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you. Fuck the CFP one more time.